Before this video starts, I just wanted to tell you guys that this is my first video essay, so if it sounds and looks a little shitty, that's why. This is also some random footage I just had saved, so it has nothing to do with Cyberpunk Edgerunners at all. It's just some footage I just had lying around. So, I hope you guys will enjoy the video, and yeah, I guess I'll see you in a sec. The year is 2020. The Steam Awards are happening and a game gets announced called Cyberpunk. This game has the most hype a game has ever seen, showing gameplay of a world that has never been seen before with realistic graphics, realistic actions, and even Keanu Reeves himself. It was almost too good to be true. And the thing is, well, it kinda was. By the time Cyberpunk had come out, it had already sold 13.7 million copies, and it was looking bright for the game, with so much hype. Unfortunately, the hype didn't last, because Cyberpunk had one of the worst launches in video game history, with countless bugs that plagued the game, a rate of poor planning and bad budgeting, and overall felt unfinished. Also, it felt nothing like the game they had advertised. The trailer showed it to be one of the most game-breaking games of all time, but in reality it just felt like a normal game and people were understandably upset. One of the greatest games ever advertised was one of the biggest flunks of all time. So how did such a flunk of a game have such a great anime? Cyberpunk Edgerunners is visually stunning with many beautiful colors and designs that are shown throughout this show. You could definitely tell Studio Trigger knew what they were doing when animating this show. I could end this saying there's nothing wrong with this show, but that just isn't the case. Every masterpiece has to have its flaws, and Cyberpunk Edgerunners has those flaws. My main problem stems from the final 4 episodes. Now, just a warning, there may be some spoilers for the show if you haven't seen it yet, so tread with caution. My problems start, as I said, in the final 4 episodes. The downfall just kind of fell out of nowhere. The previous episode covers the downfall of the original crew, and Maine dies after holding off the cops and is going cyber psycho, which happens if you have too many cybernetic implants. And his right-hand woman slash love interest also dies from trying to keep him from going cyber psycho. David, the main character, tries to save them, but unfortunately can't, and the episode fades to black after David and his girlfriend Lucy escape from the police. Now this is where the problem starts for me, because the next episode starts with a mission David and his crew are doing, but David took Maine's arm implants, which Maine gave him before he died, and implanted them into himself, causing him to look and be stronger than before. Now, this is all cool and all, but what happened in between? This all just kind of happens out of nowhere, and we don't really see him grow from this. He just all of a sudden is mature. Not to mention, we don't see him have problems from the death of his friends, which is weird because it is implied that he has spent a significant amount of time with them. Lucy, his girlfriend, does go through these problems, though, but why didn't our main character? He's the one that we spend the most time with. I guess you could chalk it up to being David not being as close with the gang, but even then, he's still the main character. So the fact we basically see him not care about the only friends that he's ever had is confusing to me. I don't like to alter artists' work, but the way I could have written it differently is maybe we have David go through some sort of depression after the death of Maine and his friends. Maybe have him contemplate getting the implants because maybe he feels he isn't ready or not worthy to take over the game. And maybe have Lucy give him the confidence to get him through it. Have the season end with David stepping up to the plate as leader, but give him time to grow into those shoes first. I find it very hard to believe that he would just be super willing to implant his dead friend's arms after watching him die in a warehouse. Like, I know there is a scene where Maine tells him that if he dies he can have his implants, but even then it's just odd for him to be so okay with it. I also have a problem with the relationships in this show. I would have loved to see the characters have closer bonds with one another rather than just a few. One of the main ones I would have loved to see is Lucy and Kiwi. The show tells us that Kiwi got Lucy into the gang, but it's never touched on again. We never see them talking to each other or hanging out. They're kind of just there. It is implied Kiwi does care about Lucy, but I would have loved to see them actually have a kind of mentor-student relationship. It would have made us more upset and sad about Kiwi's betrayal and death, and overall just make us care more about Kiwi. I just found myself not giving a shit about her most of the show because not only did she not have a lot of screen time, but she had like no relationships with them. She was kind of just like the smart character that was good with tech. Another relationship I would have loved to see more touched on is Rebecca and her older brother. They show them kind of hating each other, and I would have liked to see that more touched on. As well, maybe give them some kind of tough love relationship, as in they pretend to hate each other, but they actually care for one another. This is kind of shown to be the case, since when her older brother dies, she flips out and tries to solo the guy that killed him. But besides that, it's never shown or implied again. Also, her older brother is kind of never shown outside of being with the group. He has the same kind of problem as Kiwi did, where he never has screen time or is really cared about. I get he's a side character, but it's not like there are like 50 side characters they have to worry about. He's one of like the 10 that exist. I guess you could chalk it up to him being not as important to the plot as some of the other characters, but maybe if we actually got to see his relationship with Becca, maybe we would actually care that he died and have felt upset about it. That's one thing the show does a lot of, and is it kills its characters that we just met and tries to make us care. I think the only deaths I actually cared about were David and Maine's. Why? Well, because they actually had screen time and were focused on. The fact the show does that is kind of annoying, because I would like to see some backstory or something about the other characters, but unfortunately it clearly picks favorites. One more relationship I would have loved to see touched on more is Maine and Dorio's relationship. They are dating, and yet we never see them interact with each other besides before they are about to die and when they first kiss. Again, I get they aren't main characters, but they should be shown a little more love. Maine and Dorio die together, and this death is actually good. Dorio gets fatally shot and dies, and Maine blames himself, and it's a good character moment, and I really like that. However, maybe if we actually saw them together, besides like 2 scenes, maybe it would actually make me more care about their relationship and Dorio dying in general. The last few issues I have about the show revolve around the final battle between David and Atom Smasher. You might be wondering, how come you haven't mentioned this Atom Smasher character this entire time? Well, it's because we literally only see him at the very end of the show. And no, I am not joking, we literally see him in like the second to last episode. Hi, so Editor Me here. I found out that Atom Smasher is actually a pretty big character in the video game, as in the final boss. So I want to say sorry, I kind of did not know that, because as I said at the start of the video, I did not play the video game. So I just wanted to clear that up in case anybody got confused. Yeah, back to the video. We do get a hint at some point towards the middle of the show where he could be important in the future, because he's hinted at by one of the side characters, but that is literally it. You would think that the final climactic battle we see in the show would be between David and maybe a reoccurring villain, or a villain that was more built up throughout the show. However, that's not the case. Instead, we get a battle between David and Atom Smasher, and in a mech/cyber skeleton that is slowly killing him, and I will touch more on this in a little bit, but it still just annoys me that we are getting a fight between a character we barely know anything about and our main character. It just doesn't feel earned. A way they could have made us more comfortable with Atom Smasher is maybe show him actually fighting somebody. The closest thing we get to him actually fighting somebody is him killing Becca 5 seconds before the fight, so I'm not going to count that. It just doesn't feel right that the final battle of this show has to be between our main character and a character that we barely know anything about. It just doesn't feel right. My last and final problem with Cyberpunk Edgerunners is the cyber skeleton David steps into at the climax of the second to last episode. I just really hate it as a plot device. The main point of its existence is just so David can be strong enough to fight the military forces that are about to kill him and his friends. And for the final battle, which by the way we don't even know who's going to fight yet, I would have loved David to fight Atom Smasher with his normal abilities rather than that mech suit. Up until that point, every main upgrade he has gotten has meant something. The Sendevis stand that he gets at the very start was something his mother was going to sell to Maine at the very start of the show, but unfortunately she dies because he was unable to save her. And obviously, as covered before, David's arm upgrades are from Maine, a friend he failed to save. Every main upgrade he has obtained was a symbol of his failure, but that failure made him stronger, not just as a character, but, well, literally. But then the cyber skeleton he uses at the end means absolutely nothing. It's just there. It has no meaning to him. It has no connection to him. It's just there so he can become stronger. At the end of the day, I still think Cyberpunk Edgerunners is a fantastic show that I give a strong 8 to a late 9 out of 10. The flaws I covered in this essay probably weren't the creator of the show's fault. I'm sure they had a lot planned for the show, but Netflix didn't give them the budget or time to do so. They only had $3.4 million to make a show on a game people didn't have a lot of faith in anymore. The show only being 10 episodes probably was the right move, since if they made it more than 10, I guarantee you the show wouldn't have looked as good as it did. If you made it to the end of this video, I want to thank you so much for watching. This is a video that I've been wanting to make for a long time, and I finally get the opportunity to make it. If you guys want to watch Cyberpunk Edgerunners, it's on Netflix, but I definitely recommend you're over the age of 13 if you want to watch it. It does have a lot of nudity, gore, and, well, cuss words. And finally, to close off this video, I'd like to ask you to subscribe, like, and comment. I want to become a professional YouTuber one day, so that'll really help me accomplish my goal if you did. If you guys want to see more video essays, make sure to let me know. I've been wanting to make more recently, especially considering there are so many good games out there I can talk about. Well, anyways, that's the end of my Cyberpunk Edgerunners video essay. I hope you all enjoyed, and I'll see you next time.